Combustion.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Been running the game with my team making plays. Talking 80, my G's, wanting jewels in this place. Surrounded by dogs, keep the quarterback safe. I'm the one with the plans, they gon' do what I say. The game is not over, we don't celebrate in the end zone. We don't got no time in the wait. H-time run down, we don't premeditate. We just go and get to it, we got them on skates. If the game going to overtime, kicking the overdrive, we gon' be first at the finish line. Play looking full, but I finish mine, can I get seconds? We gon' line up like it's dinner time. We put in work till we get us a ring. Super Bowl season, we running the scene. H-time the home of the realest that breathe. Keep your face down when you talk to the king. What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the H-Town Rundown. This is your boy AD. I got my co-host in the building. I got Jules in the building. I got Mike G, Car G in the building. And we got a special guest. We got Doc Larry Payton. We got Stringer Barksdale Stanfield in the building. And, of course, we got that boy from Stafford in the building. How's everybody doing on this wonderful Wednesday afternoon, evening, night?
We're doing well. We're doing well.
Doing great.
Warming, baby.
We are
Great day to be alive, baby.
Absolutely. Every day on this earth is a great day.
Hey, AD, let me say something. Mike, whatever you're doing, it's a felony. I'm just saying.
I tell you, moving that antenna on top of your car ain't gonna get you more gerbils, man.
Hey, shout out E-Mac, shout out Frank Z in the building already. Hey, you know, we running this series, the state of the franchise for the Houston Texans. And of course, we know there was some major things, and we're gonna touch on those things that happened, that's transpired in the last few days. But in this series, we're talking about how we got here where we are. And as far as us being on the cusp of the Super Bowl championship.
Already.
And we started with ownership, and we started with, you know, Cal McNair and his transition from being one of a laughing stock as an owner to being one of the most beloved owners in the NFL and most respected owners in the NFL. The way he's transitioned from, you know, that to where we are now, especially beloved amongst Houston Texans fans. What you call him, Larry? Panky
Rain.
He went from Tommy Boy to Panky Rain.
Pinky.
It's Panky, man.
And then we also went, you know, now we're in the stage of Nick Caserio and how he came about in a cluster mess. I don't want to say cluster F. That was the Houston Texans in, what was it, 2018 when he come? 2019 when Nick Caserio got here. And how he, you know, had a lot of questions and people doubt, a lot of doubters. And Nick Caserio has slowly but surely turned this ship around and have made the Houston Texans a juggernaut. I'm gonna say this: the Houston Texans have a top 5 roster in the NFL
already.
And it was.
Can I interject? You said 2019. That's when the Texans first attempted to get Caserio.
Oh, that's right.
2020.
Yeah, they were.
It's 2021.
Yeah, they were tampering in 2019.
Okay,
and
that's where the story begins.
Yeah, at a ceremony.
Right.
Yeah. Hey. But again, I will touch on a few things before we let Larry go ham. Because, you know, Doc Payton go ham, because Doc Payton got a whole bunch of bullets in the clip he about to unload on Nick Caserio and what he calls the Patriots South enigma and fascination that the Texans have right now. Shout out Neptune in the building. Shout out Steels in the building. Shout out Chill Out, as well as Alfredo, my boy Alfredo. Says only 13 more Sundays to go before Texans football starts. I can't wait. Speaking of football starting, the Texans had minicamp the last 2 days. Ended today. And they also did something. They It's on the tip of my tongue. They did something on Monday, and I'm trying to think. I'm trying to recall. It was kind of big news. And it wasn't
Put your
fake
thinking
news.
cap on, AD.
I'm really trying to put it together, because I think about what we have in the locker room, and we got a Woody, but we just got a Chubb. And we just signed Nick Chubb, on Monday, to kind of complete, the running back room. I will touch on, get y'all initial thoughts. We will break down that even more. This is hilarious. Mike on the run.
Hey, AD, I guess with a Woody and a Chubb, you can pierce the hole.
Oh shit!
Oh, Lord.
Take it one step too far. Take it one step too far.
Oh Lord!
Once again, AD, it's your fault. When it's so far for real,
Damon Pierce. Like you gonna?
We know what you meant.
It's always.
Hey, we gonna leave it at that, Larry. We gonna leave it.
It's always AD fault.
Damn.
No.
Not the, you don't need the music either. Okay, you don't need the music either.
But definitely. And look, DP.
Out of there. Trade potential.
But definitely, I want to get y'all quick thoughts on Nick Chubb signing, because we'll talk about that more later on in the episode. But y'all quick initial thoughts on Nick Chubb, and then y'all quick initial thoughts on minicamp. So I'll start with Stringer Barksdale Stansfield.
Last night on the podcast, Texans on 3, I said that it was one of the biggest free agents signings that Nick have done. People kind of shook their head, but you have a guy that I said that his first 5 years in the league, he was averaging 5 yards a carry for the season. And you got really, injury people say he's a number 2, but we know this guy probably can store for half of the teams in the league, and you got him for 2.5. So that is a very good insurance policy to have, because his numbers and Mixon numbers are career identical. So if one happened to drop off, knock on wood, it don't happen, but you have the identical back that's coming in, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. What about minicamp, Killer Cal?
Man, that minicamp, oh my God, it made me just want to go buy all 90 jerseys. I was impressed with everybody.
Look, not them Timu jerseys, not them $29.99 jerseys.
What you got, Larry Stafford?
Hey man, shout out to the rundown, man, for having us back on again tonight, man. It's always good to chop it up with you boys, man, over some real stuff that I know a lot of H-Town and his, fans want to hear about, man. And, it's just good to get in here, man, and do this thing in a way that gives some people some entertainment to get us through June, to get us to training camp. As far as the Chubb signing, man, y'all make me repeat a lot of stuff, man, because when you wanna go somewhere where you never been, sometimes you got to do things that you ain't never done. And signing Nick Chubb allows the Houston Texans not to be in a position where if something happens to Joe, now you got this committee of running backs that don't have that kind of DNA that Nick Chubb has, where he toted that thing at a high level. And so now when you start putting high level pieces as your backups or as your 1As and 1Bs and whatever, now you're talking about somebody or a team or an organization that truly has set the agenda about getting to the Super Bowl. Nick Chubb is an elite running back, and everybody that's talking about the injuries and all that, we know football is a physical sport, man. Injuries happen. But if you got a work ethic and you got a belief in your abilities or whatever, you're going to rehab like you attacked the game on the field. And that's what Nick Chubb has done over the last year and a half. And so just the thought of having somebody that can play football at that level, man, come November, December, when football kicks into gear, I'm excited as I've been for a long time for a signing that the Texans had, man, because it's just, this is almost what you have to do in this league, because you saw Philly do it. Philly started signing a whole bunch of players to get that ring on their finger, and the Texans want a ring because the ring is the catalyst to them getting a new stadium and all the other stuff that they're trying to get for this organization. As far as minicamp goes, let me say this, man. I'll give you something on minicamp. All that OTA stuff, I couldn't care less about. In minicamp, what you started seeing and what everybody's been reporting is that defense is already ready to play a game this Sunday.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what everybody's talking about. And so now it's just a matter of getting that offense and finding you some dogs on that offense that's going to balance it all out. What I'm hearing is that, and we already know this, because once CJ started taking snaps and everybody could get their panties untwisted, everything started looking the way it's supposed to do over there on Kirby, man, because you got the trigger man over there pulling the trigger. And you saw them youngsters over there, Higgins, and you saw Christian Kirk we started hearing more and more about it. So the mini camp is just the appetizer to what we're going to see come July. So I'm excited about it, man.
Absolutely. Doc Payton, what you got, brother?
Like the Ken folks said, thank y'all for having me on. Great pleasure being back with you all. And Nick Chubb is a good move. You always want to be upgrading your roster. He's a super talented guy who would have been, a day one draft pick if it wasn't from an injury, who would have remained with his team if it wouldn't have been for an injury. Mm-hmm. So if the gentleman can stay healthy, you really got something. It's a good thing to add that type of quality person and player to the squad. I think the mini camp, anytime we can get more practice together to fine tune and congeal, especially on the O-line, which is a work in progress, we need it. We need to take advantage of all those league sanctioned opportunities to get better. And we'll see how well they do and how well they hold up as they have to report in a month or so to training camp.
Absolutely. Mike, what you got?
Yeah, I'm excited. We got another certified swarmer, as we could tell from all the videos from last year and this year of him recovering. Honestly, I'm not super optimistic as some of the fans. Hey, he's going to be back to the all-pro level. Maybe he will. And my God, that'll be amazing. But even in the worst case scenario, you have a guy who can still rip off chunk runs, who can be great in the short yardage situations, which we did not really have last year. Mm-hmm. And you have somebody who can really step up in the event Mixon has to miss any sort of time, or, hey, we don't want to have this guy get 35 carries a game, obviously. Because we saw last year, when he did miss a little bit of time, the running game took a massive hit, obviously, because Mixon's great. So now we got great depth. We got great talent all around in the backfield. And, obviously this kind of pits the debate between, do we keep Pierce? Do we keep Dare?
Ain't no question.
We're keeping Dare.
But, between Mixon and Nick Chubb and Woody Marks, we got a backfield that can put up some numbers and scare a lot of defenses. So I'm excited about that. What you got, Jules?
Well, basically, I think it's a very solid signing. What I like the most is if he's healthy or even close to being his natural level, is when he's in the game plan don't change. He can do as something or close to what Mix can do, even some things better than Mixon. But when you have that ability to call the same plays and the same personnel do it. The defense don't know how to do anything. When Mixon was in the game last year, you knew if Dar wasn't going, it's going to be a pass play. Then he might dump it off the Darway if nobody else. Dame Pierce didn't run the ball because he really couldn't catch that well. So we got predictable when Mixon won in the game. But now, what you have this great depth person, and I'm depth is loosely saying it because he can get good snaps depending on how healthy he is. But when he's in the game, the offense don't change if you have Mixon or him in the game, and that makes the offense that much more deadly and hard to plan for defenses.
Or if you have a friend of the pod.
Come on, Larry. I see you over there, Larry.
Time to wake up.
Show your age without telling your age.
Is that a flip phone? Is that a flip phone ringtone?
Hey, that's my alarm to wake up, man.
There with the 1996 ringtone. Like,
that's why I saw you on it. Time to wake up. That's my ringtone, man.
The Motorola flip
hey,
phone.
Man, that's my page net, man. Y'all ease up, man.
The see-through pager,
phone, baby.
The see-through pager.
Oh man. Let me say this. You cut off my point. I was about to say you talking about the game don't change. The game don't change when you got friend of the pod Woody Marks.
Right. I mean, as rookie young guy, you still got to learn. You got a bona fide veteran who knows the game, who doesn't need great blocking to make a difference. And Mixon showed last year with decent blocking, you can make good runs and move the chains. And now you have another one. And no, I hate talking about the O-line at this point. The O-line is halfway better, and you cope up even the smallest holes bigger than it did last year. This run offense and this offense is much better. So now you got two guys who know how to run, who know how to get in gaps, and know how to get past the second level if necessary.
Yeah, hold on.
Hey, Brandon, I ain't gonna just let you just keep coming at me like that, dog.
But
appreciate it, Jay.
Yes, sir, Jay. Y'all know him as the Moderate Texan, and he's a part of the Texans fan council. So y'all shout out Jay. Who will definitely be with us on the All 22 when we roll around when the season starts. As a fixture, but yeah, man. I love it because you get one. It is the end of Dameon Pierce. I'll say it again. This is the end for all y'all people that is just holding on hope and just clamoring for Dameon Pierce. And I just can't let you go. Oh, you done did me wrong, man. I just can't let you go. Yeah, he gone. Hashtag he gone.
Where's Whitley type? He gone.
Hold on. No. I got it. He gone. Damn, they made the dog bark. Larry's having a situation over there. But definitely, yeah. Hey, for Roy, yeah, it is a 1-year deal.
Yeah, 2.5 with $5 million up to incentives.
Yeah. Right. So again, training camp. Well, let me back up. I love the Nick Chubb signing. Not like was said before, amongst everybody, is that not only is it a good signing football wise, it's a good signing culture wise and leadership wise. As Nick Chubb is regarded as one of the best leaders and best personalities in the NFL. He's one of the most respected people, not just running backs, but respected people amongst the league. And so it's definitely a positive. And like he said in his press conference today, he was like, I was confused on why the Texans wanted me till I got in the locker room and they was just like me. And so he understood it right away. And so, definitely, he's gonna be a positive beacon of light in his offensive locker room. Jay said Dare loved that much. Dare can do absolutely everything better than Dameon Pierce. And I'm just being real. He can play. He can play special teams better.
He can block better.
He can block better. He can catch better. Hell, if you get him in open space, he can run better. So is that it ain't about loving Dare. It's just realizing the situation. Dare can do a lot more. And Damian Pearson, people say, well, Damian Pearson plays special teams outside of kick return. What special teams can he play? He ain't done nothing else on no other special team but be a kick returner. And if if the gap ain't wide open and he ain't run through a straight gap, he ain't doing nothing there either. But yeah, again, training camp is, it's always exciting to see the guys, even if they in shorts and t-shirts, just seeing them active and running around catching the ball, just
Minicamp.
being active. Yeah, what I say, OTAs?
Training camp.
Minicamp. It's camp.
And you know who wasn't active in minicamp? Damian Pierce.
I'm
done. We'll talk about camp battles later. I'm done.
Hey, he see the writing on the wall. So other than that, man, like I said, to see the Higgins, to see, the Ursaries, to see the guys we drafted, to see Kamara and Derek Stingley back in action, to see Jalen Petrie out on the field, to see, Titus Howard back, looking more in shape and better. And the guys and the commitment that these guys made in the offseason coming in and showing you, like, ain't nobody out of shape. Ain't nobody struggling. Ain't nobody puffing and puffing, So I'm appreciative of that as a fan. And CJ Stroud throwing the football around. Oh, my God. We thought the world was over, and, at the end of the day, like it still baffled me that people were questioning after the boy was up there shooting 3-pointers at DreamCon at the U of H basketball basketball game. He was up there shooting 3-pointers at halftime, and people was concerned about him throwing the football.
Mm-hmm.
So
we just live in a world where people just need something, man, to
Correct.
be able to latch on to provide content for silliness, man.
I was just about to say they're well dry.
Yeah, it is.
Go ahead.
On DP, one thing, man, is that DP had that breakout season, and since then he ain't done really nothing to earn a roster spot. And unfortunately, man, we all seen this before, that at some point, sometimes a new location is a better location for you. And that backfield now has no room for Damon Pierce, unfortunately, because they're not getting rid of Woody, they're not getting rid of the Chubb, and Dare is your emergency kicker. So there you go. So we know what the numbers look like.
They're not carrying 6 running backs.
No, they're not, man.
I'm gonna tell you this: Jawar Jordan having more of an opportunity to make this roster over Damian Pierce.
British Brooks.
Because it give you something different.
And
it
so
gives you speed.
And I'm gonna say this because those Texan fans, that hate Bill O'Brien. Y'all acting real Bill O'Brien-ish right now. y'all loving Damian Pierce like Bill O'Brien loved Alfred Blue. So
Blue was a baller.
What'd you say, Larry?
Blue was a baller.
Yeah.
All right, we got. Let's get our topic over before we run long.
Hey, no, we good. 2 minutes in. Look, let's go ahead and let's get on it, Larry. Do I need to single you out for this Nick Caserio breakdown? Do you have a podium? Do you want the podium?
Yeah, open it up for me.
All right, let me go
ahead.
You can
intro me if you like.
So we got the the great Doc Larry Payton in the building, who's the flag carrier of the Nick Caserio in New England hate club. And he's here to talk about Nick Caserio. He's gonna paint the picture, he's gonna paint the story, and he's gonna lead us off into his disgust and why it was it wasn't a good look when Nick Caserio got here, but he's gonna break it all down. So y'all just sit back and let Larry cook right quick.
Okay, congregation, it's okay to be seated. Sit down now.
Sit down. Thank you, AD, and to the audience. I'm only going to talk about the first few years, the first 3 years of Caserio, because Nick Caserio came in with a great reputation from the New England Patriots. Let me go back a little bit and introduce him. Nicholas Foxborough Caserio came to Houston in 2021 after 20 years with the 6-time Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. So everybody was excited about that he was going to bring championships to the Houston Texans. And everybody except for nonconformists like myself, because I did not want to continue on the Bill O'Brien want to be the Patriots of the South train. And so I was very negative about him coming to the Texans. And when he got here, the Texans were coming off of a terrible season that Bill O'Brien started off, and he got fired early in the season. And Romeo Crennel took us down to the doldrums, back to being a losing season. But the bright spot was the quarterback who led the league in passing. And I actually have his jersey on. No disrespect to anybody in the audience, but this is the first time I worn it so I could bring this story to everyone. Caserio, again, had a great reputation throughout the league. And as we spoke to earlier, the Texans wanted him for a long time. In fact, the Texans were a case put up against them by the Patriots for tampering in 2019 when Jack Easterby had come on to the Texan organization and tried to get Caserio to come to the Texans illegally. Right. And that was nixed. And the Texans dropped their efforts to get Caserio in 2019. So let's go back to 2021. Nick Caserio shows up. We're coming off this season where we fired our head coach, Bill O'Brien, the first in the league. 5 other head coaches were fired. And now Caserio's in charge. He's charged with hiring a head coach and jumpstarting and rebuilding this organization. But our franchise quarterback came out shortly after and said he was done with the organization, that the ownership did not involve him like he expected, and he wanted to see some things in place, i.e. he wanted to see Jack Easterby out of the building, and that did not happen. They went forward with Caserio, and Caserio started his mission in January of 2021. We will fast forward that Caserio then hired David Aloysius Culley, who had been in the league for over 25 years as a position coach that no one in South Texas had ever heard of. No one in any major winning organization had ever heard of as his first head coach. Let me repeat that. Nick Caserio's first official move was to hire David Aloysius Culley as the head coach of the Houston Texans. So this is just another point that I need to make about Caserio in his early days. That you tell me that you've been around a championship organization for 20 years with the likes of Bill Belichick, Scott Pioli, Romeo Crennel, Mike Lombardi, Floyd Reese, and your first hire is David Aloysius Culley?
Hey Larry, can I add something to that? Not even a first time head coach, but first time not offense coordinator, not a defensive coordinator, nothing that showed that you can have control over a large group of people and you run things as a head coach as opposed to be. And this is the first person that you decided you want to run your organization with.
Let the church say amen.
So Go ahead, Kim Folk. I'll let you.
Yeah, I'm trying to make my way to 2022.
Oh,
And
okay.
then I'm turning it over to Mike G. But
Okay.
these are the things that stood out to me. I don't have a lot of time, but I want to point out that he also traded for Shaq Lawson and Marcus Cannon and signed veterans like Malik Collins and Desmond King. But that year he did have an awesome draft. His first draft pick was Davis Mills. And he and Jack Easterby were high-fiving and bro hugging in the draft room like they had just drafted down Tom Brady. But there was a silver lining. They did draft Nico Collins that year.
Correct. They got one right.
Okay, so I'm gonna fast forward to 2022. He fires David Aloysius Cully after one season, and Cully wouldn't fire any of his assistant coaches, so Caserio fires him. Mm-hmm. So I've been sitting in my office trying to learn how to be a GM in the NFL, and I hire David Aloysius Cully. I fire him after 1 year, and I'm trying to interview and hire the likes of Josh McCown, Josh McCown, Hines Ward, Jonathan Gannon, and I really want to hire Brian Flores, but I messed that up. So he is now in a lawsuit. So
Brian Flores messed that up.
And so the Texans have to beg Lovie Smith to take the job. So Lovie Smith takes over, adds some credibility to the program. And as a fan with a head coach like Lovie Smith that's been to the Super Bowl, I'm back on board. Pep Hamilton as the OC. Now you got something going.
Correct, Jay. Correct.
Lovie Smith couldn't get Deshaun Watson to stay, so they have decided to trade Deshaun Watson and get a haul for that. In his draft, he actually has a great draft. In 2022, Derek Stingley Jr. at number 3 over Sauce Gardner. I love it. Kenyon Green in the first round. I don't love it, but I understand it.
There you go.
Christian Harris in the 3rd round. Nice pick. Damian Pierce in the late rounds. Nice pick. He even picked up some veterans that year. Stevie Nelson.
Good pick.
Brian Cashman he trades for. Picks up some journeyman O-line like Justin Britton, AJ Cann.
Mm-hmm.
And here goes a mistake. He tries to please a former Patriot, friend of Jack Easterby. He gives Brandon Cooks a 2-year extension, 2-year $40 million, just to make him happy. To continue to play on this bad team.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
And the season goes poorly as we all expected with a terrible roster. We go 3-13. They win the final game of the year, missing out on the number 1 overall pick. He fires Lovie Smith the next day. And finally, he hires DeMeco Ryans. And that's when he had a press conference weeks before where he apologized to the fans, the owners, and he said publicly that whoever the new coach is, if he wants me to step to the side and do something else in the organization, I will follow that lead.
This is accountability, right, Larry? Some kind of accountability, right?
He was humbled.
Right.
Those 6 Super Bowl rings had to be flown back to New England. They had to get out of Texas, out of his home, out of the safety, the security box. He had to fly those out of town safely because his job was in danger. And Hannah McNair was sitting in the front row giving him the death stare.
Now, Larry, I know you really don't like the whole Bill O'Brien, New England South thing. Nick Caserio, they try to give him twice before they actually finally got him. But you have to give some credit to the man of what he walked into. No draft picks, a crazy salary, salary cap, just no identification, just where are we going? And then your quarterback says he wants out. And I know that there's stories that David Culley tried. It was a guy that Deshaun Watson might want to be around. That was a hard talk, but he walked into a hot mess, and he still wanted the job.
Yeah, he did. He was in Carolina about to interview in Carolina when Jack Easterby flew Cal McNair to Carolina to get him to take this job. He could have been sitting in Carolina with a different ownership group, with a different perspective, but he wanted to come to Patriots South where Easterby was wielding his power.
So you don't get this man no
but
credit.
Hold on, but you didn't even mention what happened. Because guess what? As much as he came in and he said he wanted to be what Easterby, didn't he fire his ass?
Yeah.
No, Lovey fired his ass.
Oh no.
No.
How can Lovey fire somebody that's above him?
I got to get to Larry. Like Larry Payton, that I think the story was Lovey said he can't be around me going forward, and he's disrupting the way this football organization should go.
Pulled the trigger.
Well, because that's his job to pull the trigger, but
Lovey had pelts on the wall, and Lovey got the McNairs out of trouble by taking
y'all not
his
about
job.
to sit up here because y'all not about to sit up here and say that Nick Caserio didn't fire that man, that Lovey Smith, a head coach. Now you're going back to Bill O'Brien. Now you're trying to say that Lovey Smith had Bill O'Brien power. Now you want to say Lovey Smith is a Patriot South.
No, I'm saying Lovey Smith was from off the corner and he fired Jack Easterby.
I heard that story too.
Yes, you're right. It was a story. It was a story.
It was officially Nick did fire him, but it was a lot of pressure from Lovey Smith saying that he's not a good he does not do well in this organization, and we can't move forward with this man being here.
Well, let me ask y'all this question, because I know, Larry and AD, y'all was in the building. I'm quite sure, Larry, y'all was in the building. Wasn't that after Jack Easterby got fired was the first time that we started to hear Hannah McNair's voice?
Yeah, that's
so do y'all think that
there you got a point? Go ahead, finish.
Do you think that, like, soon as that happened and Easterby was out the door, we started to hear and see more of Hannah? So I think that it wasn't that Nick Caserio had said, okay, Jack, it's time for you to go. I think Hannah was like, enough of this. And after he left, that's when you started to see her being more vocal. Because before that, I don't even remember hearing Hannah's voice. Seeing her face, never heard her voice.
But what Hannah, who kind of pushed the organization and Kyle to get Lovey Smith, not to build it, say, hey, we need somebody here that can hold the fort. So, and they wanted Lovey Smith before. So if Lovey said, hey, I want Jack East to be gone, what do you think he had to pull to say, hey, man, Hannah, he got to go?
They wanted Lovey Smith the first iteration around before when Bill O'Brien got out. That's when they wanted Lovey Smith. Okay.
Go ahead, Larry. Like, you got something to say.
Larry,
go ahead. Larry got something to say.
This is y'all show, man. I'm following
y'all. I'm talking Larry for staff.
Okay. So let me fill in some of the blanks for y'all. Number one, you got to also remember in what was that 20? So Cully was what, 21 and Lovey was 22, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Right about that same time, Dre told their ass he didn't want to have nothing to do with him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were going through that whole thing where nobody that had been a Texan player, none of the ambassadors or anything, were having anything to do with that organization because Easterby was in that building. And the problem with Nick Caserio coming to Houston was everybody knew that his relationship with Jack Easterby was just going to be extended because Jack Easterby had been his counselor up in New England when he was in all that mess up in New England, whether it was personal or whether it was football related. And so Easterby had this kind of pull on him. And if you remember, there was a whole bunch of chatter going around that Easterby had blackmail photos and all this other stuff, and that's how he had gained all his power within the organization, man. Because a lot of people know where that red door is in Houston, man. That a lot of people don't know about. I know about it, but a lot of folks don't know what's behind that red door. If y'all know what I'm saying. So anyway, so we knew that relationship was going to be very difficult for the organization, because you had a snake in there, man. Easterby was a blood-sucking snake, man, and he did things behind the scene that was just so detrimental to the destruction of the fan base and the entire organization that at that point, Cal and Hannah had no choice but to remove him from that locker room or that organization, man, because nobody wanted this job. Think about it. And the only reason Lovey was a last minute, hey, we need you to do this for us because we can't get nobody else to come in here and do it. Right. And there was this whole talk about, well, it's only 32 of these jobs. Somebody would take this job. No, wasn't nobody taking it, man. You had a dude that was getting massages. You had a GM that used to be the pastor at Lakewood and Second Baptist, and he came over here with blue fish, red fish, green fish, orange fish, 1, 2, 3. Then he told a story about he drove that little silly ass Brandon Cooks, one of them wide receivers, in his van and picked him up from the airport, and all this fraudulent stuff, man. And so, what did you finally see? You saw that stadium being empty. Wasn't nobody going out there to support that foolishness, man. You couldn't find nobody that really was having an experience over there. So Nick Caserio,
they couldn't hide behind COVID either.
No, couldn't hide behind COVID, man. Didn't nobody want to. COVID's probably helped them because it allowed everybody to stay away from Kirby, man, because it was just a mess. And then the problem that nobody could really get past was Nick Caserio wore them damn sweater vests in August, man. It was.
He don't eat barbecue.
He eat barbecue, man. And he said it out loud. He was like, "Nah, I ain't eating no barbecue." How you gonna say you ain't eating barbecue in the biggest barbecue state in the whole world? And so you felt like he wasn't really committed to the Texans. Now, I'm gonna sum this up like this, because I know somebody else want to get in, and we'll get moving on a lot of other stuff. The reason why Nick Caserio is having the kind of success he is having right now, it's only one reason, and that's DeMeco Ryans. Right. Because DeMeco Ryans is a stronger, more individual than Nick Caserio in terms of his character and his ability to relate to the players and the fans or whatever. So that's why you're seeing this kind of. You remember when Bill O'Brien used to talk about we needed what's that word where it's symmetry, not symmetry,
alignment.
But alignment. And you remember when he was saying that we needed alignment with Lovey and David Culley chewing his tongue and Jack Easterby and all this other stuff. Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans have alignment. Right. And we're seeing that play out because now you're starting to see that roster over there mimics DeMeco Ryans. Right. But the front office over there, Nick is making moves to get all his boys over there because they have the same kind of mindset. So that's why you're starting to see that balance over there. But what I'll say finally on Nick is this. He got me C.J. Stroud. So
we'll get there, Larry. We still in 2022.
Everything else behind that.
We ain't there, like Larry. We gonna turn.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
We're gonna turn to Mike.
Y'all have to understand, when Larry was leaning forward, he was leaning toward the future. So he had to lean on back down. He was about to let it go.
Come on, man.
All right. So we're gonna let the car master talk about the dark years and the Nick specials and the whole
Man,
before we get to the whole present and future.
I'm
Oh,
gonna say this by Mike. You know, Beyonce coming in a few weeks. You know, she had a great tour that was called On the Run. Mike right now is having his own On the Run tour.
Go ahead, Mike.
Mike, go ahead and
Mike G to the stage.
Yeah, you know, dodging the popo up here.
Not the popo.
You can't dodge. You don't have to dodge the police.
I'm glad you said it, AD, because I was so finna be like, dodge the police.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. Get back on track, buddy. Get back on track.
You know, Larry, I love you, bro. But and I love D'Amico. Like, roll Tide, roll Texans. I think he's a phenomenal player. I think he's a phenomenal coach, and I'm so glad we got him. But to say all of the success is just due to D'Amico is incorrect.
You're talking to me, right?
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
We got two Larrys here. I should have specified.
Just say Dot.
And we got you.
Yeah, I mean, look, this was a rough situation, as Larry Payton pointed out, that Nick Caserio came into. You look at that roster, and my God, what a dumpster fire.
You want me to name the players that was on that roster?
No.
I got it.
No, we good. Go ahead.
Let me give you a little taste. Let me give you a little taste. Little taste. You had Brandon Cooks. Okay. Chris Conley. Your starting offensive line was Charlie Hick, Max Sharping, Jimmy Morrissey.
Oh, man.
Justin McCray, and Titus Howard.
Honey, bring me a BC powder. Powder. Hurry up.
Don't forget All-Pro Pharaoh Brown.
That's right.
Davis Mills and David Johnson.
You didn't even
Lindsay.
Oh, I'm glad you reminded me of that. We had
offense. I ain't even got to defense. Don't even want to look at the defense. Don't even look at the defense. Talking about Jacob Martin and DeMarcus Walker and Malik Collins and Jordan Jenkins and Garrett Wilder.
Those were the stars of the defense, AD.
And the goddamn Christian Kirk.
Our leading tacklers were Desmond King, Christian Kirksey, and
don't forget Grugier Hill.
Right.
And we had
Mitchell.
We had two white running backs.
Rex Burkhead,
the leading rusher.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, coming into that situation with a completely talent deficient roster, which is an understatement, you had to do the Nick Caserio specials, as AD coined. To just, hey, nobody wants to come here, but hey, you know, here's their 1 year deal, here's a 2 year deal. And gradually over time, also having no draft picks,
right,
and dealing with the Deshaun Watson situation, which we had to hear about every day for a year.
You couldn't stop touching shit.
Which, I mean, just as fans, but then you look at the locker room and my God, you know. So dealing with all that, there are a lot of GMs out there. And I'm sure if Bill O'Brien had been in this situation, we would have had to give up a first-round pick just to get rid of him. But instead, we get 3 first-rounders, and we get some extra day 2 and day 3 picks. Dealing with that situation, we draft well. Obviously, not every pick is going to hit. Even the Eagles have some guys that don't hit. But Nick Caserio, I think, overall did a good job and put this team in a situation that – D'Amico Ryans would not only consider going to, but he declined several other offers to interview because he's like, no, I'm going to Houston. That situation has improved quite a bit, even though the record didn't improve a whole lot. The roster did, because we don't need to go back down that road again. And I mean, you know, we got Nico Collins, we got Derek Stingley. We got these guys who hit, who developed pretty well, and then bring in D'Amico Ryans, and it just soars. Obviously, having a pretty nice schedule a couple years ago helped, but D'Amico Ryans is such a hell of a coach. And then last year, obviously, proving that we can continue this with a tougher schedule. So, yeah, D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio, I think, deserve a lot of credit for the turnaround.
I mean, you have to give the GM a couple points. He did sacrifice a couple years of having dead cap by cutting people a little earlier. So when he was ready to rebuild this franchise going forward, that dead cap number would fall off when he really want to make some splashy deals, and he did make some splashy deals with Hunter and a couple guys because he was strategic when it comes to his cap going.
Hey,
that word knocked it.
You fly with that one.
I'm let it go anyway. So
JD, what was that? What word was
anyway,
that?
whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Each
Anyway,
stunned
so-
sheep.
Thought he was having a stroke in the middle of saying the word.
But
Y'all wrong, man.
But on some of those Nick specials, there were good guys that you can build on, or you had the idea of what this defense or offense guys were going to build around. So even though we all clowned a 1 year, 2 year deal, and we wanted to see guys have these 3 or 4 year deals because you want to see some stability, he was doing it on the way he was playing. We say playing checkers, he was playing chess.
Yeah.
Yes, but let's not fool ourselves. The dudes that were signing 1 year Caserio specials were not special.
And
they were
And
journeymen.
who would have wanted to sign with them at the time?
Anybody that want to be in the league.
That's basically who was signing.
That's who we got.
Exactly.
Right.
They were Jags, man.
Before the UFL.
Right.
They were Jags. That's all they were. Just another guy, man. They wasn't nobody special, man. It was nobody. They couldn't go nowhere else. We was giving money away because we needed to fill a 53, man.
But that's goes to the point of what Mike said was what he inherited was just the worst roster in all of NFL because of the trades by Bill O'Brien, the deals that Jack Easterby was doing when he was trying to intern GM. They just had no sense of how to run a football or how to gather great talent, and they were just doing things on the fly. So he really did walk into a shit show.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
what it is. I'm gonna say this because we glossing over the Lovey and Cully situation and how this all transpired. And I'm gonna go back down my memory lane. I'm gonna dig in my bag. And I'm gonna go down memory lane, and I'm gonna pull out that David Culley was hired for a reason. And David Culley was supposed to be here for 2 years. David Culley was a tank commander. What teams that should be tanking should be doing is what the Texans did. And a lot of teams are afraid to do it. New Orleans Saints right now should have hired them a David Culley. But they went and hired Kellen Moore. They should be tanking right now. You just lost your franchise quarterback and you want Archie Manning. Now what you gonna do? The Texans did Archie.
Get his name right, Arch.
Whatever his name is, that white boy in that dirty orange.
Hook 'em.
Burnt, sir.
Going down.
Hook 'em.
Saw him off.
So, come on, get to your point. You got a whole segment to yourself too. Come on.
Yeah, I know. But, going down that memory lane, David Culley was supposed to be here for 2 years. Mm-hmm. David Culley was a tank commander, and he did his job the first year. And of course, you still had enough talent on that team to win games with Tyrod Taylor, with Mark Ingram. You brought in a lot of veterans that year to kind of get you through, to make you a respectable team. And of course, It is what it is. That's how it rolls.
And then they traded Mark Ingram
Because he has to go home.
to tank.
The tank.
Yeah,
They did their job. The games they won was at the beginning of the year. They won 3 games early.
That tanking strategy. Nick Caserio ain't sit around for 20 years waiting to be a GM so he could tank and almost get fired.
So Larry Payton, so your idea of Nick Caserio is that he's just a bad GM.
He trying to say that Nick looked up into the situation.
No, I'm not saying he lucked up. I'm saying he deserved to be a GM of a team. Mm-hmm. He chose to come to this dumpster fire because there were Patriot roots in the building.
Okay. Right.
And when he got here, he found that it was worse than he thought.
Okay, I agree with that.
He was worse than he thought, and tanking is not what you do in the NFL. You putting people's lives on the line if you tank in the NFL. Basketball, you could do that, but not in the NFL.
The Bears tanked to get Keller Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree. They didn't tank.
The Titans tanked because they drafted Will Levis and said,
I disagree that they tank, but that is just my opinion. I do think that Caserio has grown into the position fine, but he was a novice when he got here. And when he got here, he talked about trying to get processes in place more than players. And so I can understand that, but you can't put garbage out on the field for 3 years. As Larry and Stafford said, you lose the crowd, you lose the audience and the fan base. And so that's why he was on his way to an exit in late 2022 before the DeMeco Ryans hire. You don't think he was on the verge of being fired?
First of all, they signed. I think his verge of being fired was when we hired the DeMeco Ryans process, not in 2021.
You're talking about Nick Caserio, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Caserio.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
a 6-year deal, didn't he?
Yeah,
6 years, $36 million.
Kind of guaranteed him at least the DeMeco Ryans era. I'm saying like if the DeMeco Ryans hire, if the Texans didn't do what they did for improvement, and we're in that same boat that they were the last 2 years prior with Lovey and Cully and with DeMeco, because of Nick's lack of roster construction and all this stuff, if he don't take CJ Stroud, Nick Caserio is fired. That was the cutting point.
Well, we're saying something along the same lines. That's what I'm saying. That once DeMeco got in the building, the power was in DeMeco's hands, and Caserio was on thin ice. They actually worked well together in that first year and had a successful season. If DeMeco would have circled back to the owners and said, Nick ain't going to get it, bring me Adam Peters, I think Caserio would have been out of here.
Larry, you make him sound like an ISO auditor with quality procedures. That's what he's good at in policies, and not the process is more important than the players themselves.
No, he said that. He said process and not players. He didn't bring in players until he drafted.
DeMeco got there.
Yeah. I mean, but that was the thing. You had to clean house. You had to turn that roster all the way over. And I think
you didn't have to. You didn't have to.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I just read off what we had on that roster.
You read off what was on the roster in 2021. That's
what he inherited.
No. Tyrod wasn't on the roster before he got here. Mark,
he had to get a starting type quarterback because there was no quarterback on the roster that wanted to play for us. And that was the best veteran who can stabilize a locker room, who actually had talent, but always had some kind of situation that made him get benched somewhere, or
first look in history.
Or a lung collapse.
Man.
So what you all are saying and what I'm disagreeing with is that Caserio assembled the roster in 2021 football season. I'm saying that the 2020 roster was better than what he assembled in 2021.
Huh?
What?
The 2020 roster was better than the 2021 roster.
You know why? You know why it was better?
Because we had a franchise.
Because of the dude jersey you got on. That's the reason why it was better.
You can't even name the receivers Deshaun Watson had his last full season.
Let me say this. If you put Deshaun Watson on 2021, we ain't picking Derek Stingley.
Exactly. But he didn't play in 2021.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He was on the roster.
Yeah, he was on the roster.
He was on the roster. He didn't play, but if he would have played.
Yeah, they would have won more games. But here's the reason why they had to turn their roster over. Because the Texans had to physically hire a person to stand next to David Culley and hand him some gum when he was chewing his tongue on national TV. And so that person, you can't have David Culley being the face of your franchise. And so what Nick Caserio, and when Mike said that I didn't give Caserio or I gave D'Amico too much credit versus Caserio, I can put up a poll right now. And the
I'm saying both deserve some.
Who would get fired first over on Kirby, D'Amico Ryans or Nick Caserio?
We know Nick.
Okay, then. So my point is that they allowed that relationship to build because the main thing that transitions everybody to this whole love affair is number 7.
Agreed.
Agreed. I'm gonna give Larry Payton one credit because it's a point, but it's not a point. He had to help coach David Culley through a lot of situations. But that being said, you also are the one who hired David Culley, so you don't get that benefit of doubt that you were that good of a GM or personnel or coaching guy to know what you're doing.
Nick Caserio gets credit because he gave opportunities to 2 black men that never would have got them opportunities in life again.
But once again in the first time.
He wasted the owners about $30 or $40 million.
$40 million. $40 million.
It ain't my money. I ain't tripping.
That's why Hannah was giving him that look in the front row when his ass was about to be fired.
Right. So he said, "You want to fire?" He said, "Culley said you want to fire me? That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm still get paid. I didn't know how to do the job in the first place.
Hannah turned into a black woman. I
know what offensive drills was. I know what a sled was.
Hold on, what'd you say, Larry?
Hannah turned into a black woman. Like, I wish you would fire another coach.
All right,
but hold on. Again, Culley. Only reason why Culley was fired, and I'm gonna say it again, is Brian Flores. Brian Flores is his own worst enemy. Brian Flores was going to be the next head coach of the Houston Texans because he was unexpectedly fired.
Right.
Well, what you and Jules doing on that top row?
It happens, don't it?
Yeah, see, I don't know. Y'all tongue twisted up there, strategic, whatever y'all had going on, man. Cal, we need to get something in they cup, man.
No, don't even bring Cal into this.
Look here.
Don't even bring Cal. Cal is on a matter of time for Cal.
But no, it was a tough couple of years.
Right.
That 21-22. That there was a whole bunch of housekeeping that had to go on over there on Kirby, man, and it's fortunate. It's fortunate that it played out the way it played out because we were on the brink of them doing something really big stupid with that Josh McNown hire, right. And it was going to continue that downward trend that we was already on from 21-22. and like a bolt of fresh air, when D'Amico turned down the Denver job and decided that his wife wanted to come back to the H, that he had a great relationship with Janice McNair, and Hannah and Cal decided I'd had enough of the stadium looking like it was only 5,000 people in there. They decided that they wanted to put this franchise back on the right track, and Nick played a huge part in that, because you got to remember, like y'all already said, he did draft Stingley. He did draft Nico, but we didn't know what Nico was going to be. We kind of knew. We didn't know what Stingley was going to be because he had been injured at LSU, and everybody was like, "We're taking a big risk on that." And so then you fumble your way through 2022 because Lovey is out there playing whatever kind of football that was from 1986 to 1992, and so we wasn't winning them kind of games, and so the organization had no choice but to go in a different direction. And D'Amico came in and he put this thing back together to the point of what we're seeing now, which is what we can start discussing about moving forward.
Right. That segue to AD's segment with Nick today. D'Amico
Hey, can I say something right quick?
Go ahead, Cam.
Go ahead.
Let me say something. Hey, Larry, you said
Which Larry?
I mean you, Peyton. You say Frank Z, that's Nitty?
Yeah, that's Nitty.
Man, I ain't never seen Nitty on the chat, so I didn't know who he was. I've been reading his message. What's up, Nitty?
1, 2,
I had
3.
I had no idea that was my boy. What's up, Larry? I mean, Patton. I ain't know that was my boy. I'm sorry.
Patton came in with the quote with David Culley. That's
Patton, I already know. I don't play about David Culley. I like. I would have seen that, man.
The thing about football, it starts with the football.
Huh.
It look
almost right.
Almost sounded like
it was close to that one. That's the famous one. But go ahead, D. Tell us where Nick is today, redemption, and his partnership with D'Amico Ryans, and where we at today, and how he's going to go to the future with us, this team.
I mean, right now, Nick Caserio has flourished in the opportunity because he showed his will and he showed his fight and grit. Because he was in a corner.
Mm-hmm.
He was in a corner, and it was do or die when we hired D'Amico Ryans. And he sat back and he made it happen.
Right.
He slowly but surely built this
Evolved.
evolved this roster and built it to what it was with his first draft. Each draft, he has picked a cornerstone for this team.
Okay.
This first draft, Nico Collins, cornerstone.
Mm-hmm.
Next draft, Derek Stingley, Jalen Petrie, cornerstones. You know, I know him. I see.
Larry to catch it. Larry definitely catch it.
And then the next draft, CJ Stroud, Will Anderson. You know, and then this draft that he just had in 2024. If I'm not mistaken, that is the give me right.
Kamari
Lassiter.
All right, Lassiter.
Bullock.
You know, Blake Fisher, potential cornerstone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So each draft, and then this draft, you can say that Jaden Higgins
could
be a cornerstone piece. You know, so
Big E next year.
Ariante Ursery could be a cornerstone piece. He's positioned.
I wasn't gonna say that name.
Huh? Oh, I know. I know.
I was waiting on you too. I was waiting.
Just like nobody on Texas on 3 could get Dare Ogunbowale name
right. They drafted his drafts over the last 3 years can be considered elite level draft when they are getting the kind of players out of those drafts that have been able to produce. And even you're talking about 2024 with all the Jalen's they got, Higgins and Noel and Smith, and then he goes back, like you say, he goes get Tay to play left tackle. That's going to probably be a mainstay for the next 10 years. And all these boys are going to be on their rookie deals and all going to be look like they're going to all be productive. You can't do nothing but give Nick some credit. Then
Yeah.
You start seeing that he has changed his personality a little bit, man. He's showing up, without the vest on. When we went to the season ticket meeting, he looked a little bit more. Yeah, he looked a little bit more relaxed.
But more comfortable in his job.
There you go. Exactly. And he was sitting up there with D'Amico, and they looked like they was in tandem. And it just looks like that now, like Jules just said, he's more comfortable in his job because now he's back to doing what he loves doing, which Nick has been on record as saying he's more about evaluating talent and getting people into the building. And when Cully and them were there or whatever, he was up in the booth with headphones on calling plays. So we know that he's at a position now because he trusted Miko, has put together a whole coaching staff over there that the football side of it can be handled. And him and his boys can do all the analyticals and redesign in the locker room and all the processes that we talked about.
Right.
So we've seen this maturation because in the beginning, he was a baby giraffe trying to stand on some legs in H-Town, and we was ready to run his ass out of here after the first year. So we've seen
a whole bunch of Doc Paytons in the building.
Exactly. We've seen a maturation, but I think what we can all be honest about is we've seen this maturation between Nick. We've seen the maturation with Cal. They ain't so sorry with Hannah. And so now you're starting to see exactly what I think Texans fans have been looking for in terms of what this franchise organizationally we were wanting it to look like when Bob McNair was alive. And it had gotten stale. And now you're starting to see some freshness about it.
Yeah.
If I could weigh in on that, I do think that as a pragmatist, as AD is laid out and Larry as well, Nick has improved since D'Amico got in the building. You can call it alignment. D'Amico says that they see the game the same way. You can call it, I tell him what kind of players I want, and he goes out and finds it. It's working out well. But I will continue to have a critical eye on whoever the GM, whether they're from Foxborough or not. I do think that Caserio has had a hell of a 30 months since D'Amico got here.
You said you counted months, homeboy. That's how much you can't stand no England.
I'm surprised he didn't say days.
I ran through 36 months of hell for you. So these last 30, he's been doing well, and I am positive about this current draft class, but I'm not anointing this as a good draft class until they play.
Absolutely. So, we can't do that. Go ahead, Jules.
So do you think that with D'Amico Ryans allows Nick Caserio to be his true self, what his skill set is and what he's good at, and that is behind the scenes? And maybe D'Amico say he wants two different players. Then Nick could say, okay, during the process of who works better for us, we can trim it down to the best play that fits the situation that he's behind the scenes, and he's not making actually player decisions. Because when he was with Bill Belichick, he was his helpmate, but Bill Belichick was still the football guy. Yeah. So as great as Nick was for Bill still was, hey, I know football, and I can pick the guys I really want. So they worked well as a personnel guy, and maybe he's just a good personnel guy, and D'Amico is more of the head coach. And I know all the football. I know it's on the field to make this team go.
So I'm gonna say this: Nick Caserio, when D'Amico Ryans got here, Nick Caserio did not have to be the smartest person in the room, because he wasn't. D'Amico Ryans, when it comes to football, knowing the game forward and backwards, has
GPA.
Hey
man,
hold on. People don't realize D'Amico Ryans was an academic scholar.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. He was an academic All-American, just like he was a player All-American. So D'Amico Ryans is smart as they come, which is why he was able to be great on the field and great as a coach. And so DeMeco Ryan, and look, his decision making is great. If you've seen Miss Ryan's or Mrs. Ryan's, his decision making is great. He's a great decision maker. But DeMeco Ryans definitely took the pressure off of Nick Caserio for having to do it all.
Yeah.
Because even though Lovie Smith was respected as a coach, and everything like that, Lovie Smith was past his time had already passed.
Yes, sir.
You couldn't fully trust his decision making because he would lie to revert back to doing things that he did back in 2008 and 2007 and 2006 whenever he went to the Super Bowl. One of them years he went to the Super Bowl. So it had already been 10 plus 15 years past then. Your time has passed, so you can't do those same type of things. And Nick Caserio has embraced his role as being a co-partner rather than being the main guy. And so it takes a lot of ego checking from being the guy and being the one controlling the whole situation to step back and kind of heeding to DeMeco Ryans and trusting DeMeco Ryans. And I think the biggest thing that came to me, I think that gelled those guys was Will Anderson. Okay. Nick Caserio loved Will Anderson from the get-go. DeMeco Ryans, you can't. You got to be. You would have to went to Smiley to not understand the connection of DeMeco Ryans and Will Anderson, both Bama guys, both playing in that Bama that Tide over there.
You almost said it, AD.
No, I ain't gonna say it.
I'm almost positive. Aren't they both bros too, man? I think they both may be Omegas, man.
Yeah, they're fraternity brothers.
Yeah.
So you put all those things together, that's where they aligned. And the fact that Nick Caserio was able to pull the trade off to get the guy that they both wanted.
Yeah.
That put them in alignment. When they made the trade and they drafted Will Anderson, that room, I think they still got the picture of them shaking hands, hugging, that video of them shaking hands, hugging like they just hit the lottery. Because that was the one. That cleared up all the doubt, all the questions. They both knew that, hey, we are similar, like-minded, because we both see the same thing in the same player. We see the impact that he's going to have on this team. We see what kind of person he is, and he is the direction that we want to go in. Thank God for Hannah McNair and Cal McNair for putting their foot down and not letting them do no BS and drafting Will Anderson at number 2. Because that would have, I'm gonna say this, that they changed the trajectory of not only Nick Caserio but DeMeco Ryans too.
Well, they both got what they wanted out of it.
Exactly.
Nick got his quarterback, and DeMeco got
Hannah got her quarterback.
but Nick wanted his Tom Brady, and DeMeco wanted his Willie McGinnis. And that's exactly how Nick did his thing up in New England. And they lucked into Tom Brady becoming Tom Brady, but they both got what they wanted out of that draft, and it took them agreeing to move that to get Anderson at that number 3 pick, because in that draft everybody thought once they got CJ that we was gonna be back down at 12 or whatever wherever it was.
Like Brandon said, we was thinking about Tyree Wilson.
Yeah, exactly. And
Van Ness from Iowa.
Yeah.
And so they got cornerstones on both sides of the offense and the defense. And so they both was through the roof. And like you said, Hannah, there was no way on this planet that the Texans was not going to draft a quarterback in that draft. And they now, whether it was Bryce or CJ or however it was going to go down, there was no way they was coming out of that draft without a quarterback because they had already saw enough of Davis Mills to make us all.
I'm gonna say this, Larry.
Yeah.
And I feel bad now because me and C. Roy were on the whole train about Will Anderson.
Yeah.
And it was based off we did not trust nobody over there on Kirby to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Do the right thing. Like do the stuff that makes sense.
Yep.
And draft your quarterback. And I want to stop right here because we are missing one critical piece of this story that we didn't really touch on, and I know we running on time. But Nick Caserio and that Deshaun Watson trade.
Yes, sir.
He was able to, we look at it now, everything is revisionist history, but this is a good revisionist history on how we were able to finesse and fleece the Cleveland Browns after they had been fleecing us for years. We finally got our get back.
Yep.
And we fleeced them on Deshaun Watson and that allowed us to get Will Anderson.
Yes, sir.
And and allowed us and put us in position for CJ Stroud and allowed us to make the moves that we made in that draft because of trading Deshaun Watson.
And in that situation also, what I love about what Nick did a lot of stuff. Like if anybody been listening to me, I've been pro Nick from the beginning. When I say the beginning, me and Doc, I always say his regime to me didn't start until year 3, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. He made it to where the teams that even wanted to trade for Deshaun had to submit their packages. It was like he didn't give it an open bid. It was like, look, this is what we're going to accept. And hey, y'all send me over. Because I think it was Atlanta. I think it may have been Miami, may have been in the mix. Of course, Cleveland. And
Deshaun
wanted the NFC South.
Yeah, the whole basically, Cleveland and the NFC South. Deshaun, damn, they stepped on that tail hard, didn't they? Deshaun wanted to go to Atlanta. He wanted to go home. And
it was the money.
It was the money. The money took it over.
Guaranteed money.
Because I think everybody was giving him guaranteed money, but nobody gave him a fully guaranteed contract.
Right. Yeah. And let me say this too. This is another thing what I love about what Nick Caserio did. AD said that, it was Hannah was going to get her quarterback. Most general managers, and I would say, just hypothetically, 27 out of 32 wouldn't have done what Nick did. Nick would have went to the room, went to the quarterback, went to the owner and say, look, we get this quarterback. I cannot give up this amount of equity to move back up to number 3. You know why? Because it never been done before. We've never saw that happen. And so he was like, now this is what we're going to have to give up. We give it up, then down the road, we'll make some more draft picks and we'll build, because we were still trying to build debt, not reserve debt, but starters debt. And so when you give up that amount of picks, and I'm not going to go into was it this many picks, that many picks, most general managers don't even I'm not going to start that. Most general managers don't even go after they get CJ. They say, look, we're looking at number 12 or whatever. We want to pick more picks. We'll take that 12 and move on down. But he did something that has never been done before. As I can remember, nobody picking number 2 and number 3 in the draft, and getting the best offensive player and the best defensive player in the same draft. Like, you gotta salute that, man.
I give him credit for that.
We also got touched on the free agency he brought in the last couple of years. That helped set the roster where we are now.
So he made those moves, and it all started with D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud and Will Anderson, because now you see that the Texans ain't playing. You see that the Texans have operated in a sense like, hey, we're here. We making the moves. When you draft a franchise quarterback and a franchise edge in the same draft,
yep,
you're making a statement to the league that we here. We not here to play around. We not here to do any of that BS that you thought we want. We ain't on that type of time no more. We on the time of winning and being a productive franchise. And so when you make those moves, now free agents are more willing to come.
Yep.
You know, now people are recognizing what you're building, and that's fast forward to now. That's how you get a Nick Chubb.
That's exactly.
That's how you are able to trade for Stephon Diggs last offseason. That's how you are able to bring these players in. And so Nick Caserio has gradually drafted smart.
Mm-hmm.
He's had his misses in the draft, but he has also had a lot of home runs. And so, like I said, those cornerstones in Derek Stingley that just got a new contract. Those cornerstones in Nico Collins that just got a new contract. Again, Frank Nitty talking about CJ Gardner Johnson. Taking a miss with Kenyon Green and turning it into a single double with CJ Gardner Johnson.
Right.
And those type of moves that he's made, signing Danielle Hunter, being able to extend Danielle Hunter to keep him here for another year.
Right. So we got different terms of Nick specials when he was just get a guy in here, give him a year or two. Now he's a change just to we give you guaranteed money for 2-3 years. We want to see you best. We want the best years out of you. We don't want to pay you extra when you down the line. We want your prime years. So we're gonna give you your guaranteed money for the first 2 or 3 years to get you in the building because that's what we want from you. We want to win championships the next 2 to 3 years.
He's recognized to take advantage of players, talented players, needing an opportunity that had, not reclamation projects necessarily, but taking talented guys and giving them an opportunity to show the world their talent and basically using them. Just as much as they using us for the money.
Yeah.
We're using them for they play on the field.
But
go ahead.
No, go ahead, AD.
No. I'm just saying that the operation and how he's operated these last few years, it should be studied and it should be followed. It should be a blueprint.
Well,
because we talk about the Nick Caserio specials when he was doing it in 2021, in 2022, and all that. It was people were looking at him like, "What the hell are you doing? That ain't how that you don't make these type of moves." Guess what? In 2025, that's the norm.
It is. And here's the thing. You just got to look at the whole picture. Nick Caserio has achieved something that if you look around the league, it's almost, again, a unicorn. He has franchise tag players at every one of the main positions: quarterback, wide receiver, defensive end, cornerback. And so he has franchise players in those positions. And so now what he's doing when he fills in the roster with pros that have, like CJ Garner that's won a Super Bowl, or Ward that played in San Francisco, and these dudes that have gone to the NFC or AFC championship game, when he brings those kind of players in, because that's what D'Amico wants in terms of the culture, because you got to teach young guys how to be pros and how to get a franchise to that level. It's not that Will Anderson and CJ Stroud and Derek Stingley didn't know how, because they all went to that level in college. But in the pros, you needed people that can kind of, show them how to be pros. And so that's why they would bring in certain kind of Malik Collins, and they would bring in big boy in the middle, number 98. I can't get his name right now, but
Rankins
and all. So they bring in these kind of players to tutor and guide these dudes when they, because what we do know is that Nick whole philosophy, going back to what you were saying, AD, in terms of the contract, you won't be seeing the Texans give out 5-year contracts only to 2 players probably over there, or 3. Stingley, Will Anderson, and CJ Stroud. And
Stingley got paid, didn't he?
Yeah. But my point is,
Yeah.
and Nico, so that's what I'm saying. So he's filling that roster out where he's gonna keep the main thing, and he's gonna put other people around them that are gonna want to play for a team that's on the rise, and that it's gonna be a young team, and then get these guys to a Super Bowl. Because once they get the Super Bowl and get the ring on their finger, then now it's about money. It's about money. So what he's done is it does need to be studied, man, because he almost allowed himself to miss out on what he had been planning on doing in terms of being a GM, where he had total control over the draft versus, having to share that window with Belichick. And now him and D'Amico have this alignment again. I know we get kind of crazy about that word, but you're talking about dudes who are so smart at both of their profession that it allows them to be able to make decisions together that betters the entire team and the organization. And now when you throw in Mike Tomlin over there, when they're trying to get this whole new deal thing, now the picture is becoming clear what they're looking for.
All right, fellas, I gotta go. I got a class I gotta take, so I'll tell you later. Appreciate the show.
All right.
All right,
Jules.
Learn something.
Got to. How to speak to.
How to say strategy.
Or strategic.
Yeah. Later, man.
But definitely, Nick Caserio has positioned himself to be, one of the more stable, and he's already created a lane where he's already been respected amongst the league because he gets a lot of credit for the turnaround.
Yeah.
Even though some people would say it's layups,
we've seen a lot of GMs miss those layups.
we've seen look. I was gonna say something about my girl, but
I heard the Angel Reese, man. I heard it. I heard Angel Reese.
Angel Reese out here, but Nick Caserio was able to go ahead and make it happen. And just talking about moving forward with Nick Caserio, because again, I've said it last episode, the way he's positioned his franchise is that we're positioned to be a franchise that is a consistent contender for years to come, similar to how Pittsburgh has always been a consistent contender. How now Baltimore is a consistent contender. How Buffalo now is a consistent contender. How Kansas City, the Eagles, the Lions now. So we position ourselves to be in that group of we gonna make the playoffs every year. We gonna win the division. We in that realm of it's the Texans division to lose till it ain't. It's their division till it ain't their division. And Nick Caserio has built the team up to be that right now. And moving forward, you make the trades that you make and resetting the roster in such a smart way where we talk about offensive line. And now this is the only thing I'm going to talk about offensive line. We're going to move on. You reset your roster on the offensive line by moving on from Laremy Tunsil.
Yeah.
And something that was needed and something that we at the H-Town Rundown have been preaching for a very long time. Since we started the H-Town Rundown, we were talking about how we needed to find a way to move on from Laremy Tunsil to reset the roster, because we knew once you draft CJ, you on a limited time. There's no way you can keep a franchise left tackle, pay a franchise quarterback, pay a franchise wide receiver, pay a franchise corner, pay a franchise edge. There's no way you can do all of that and still have a roster, a functioning roster. Because when you do all that, there's only so much you can do with draft picks. And so that is a proponent of him doing the things of resetting the roster his whole tenure. Resetting the roster at quarterback by trading Deshaun Watson and getting CJ Stroud. Resetting the roster when it comes to, the edge on the defensive side of the football. I think the JJ Watt situation, it happened right before he got here, but the way he was able to pivot by putting sustainable players, what's the guy name? What's the edge?
Jerry Hughes.
Jerry Hughes, by bringing in a Jerry Hughes who's a veteran, who's a productive player, who can hold you down for a few years until you get that franchise setter in Will Anderson. And finding the mixing and matching of players that can still make you a respectable franchise, but play the game of tanking at the same point in time to get you there. You got to be a smart MFer to do that, to put the same players on the team, and be a respectable and play football in a respectable fashion, even though everybody know what you're trying to do.
Yeah,
but that's why
you're not tanking.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why I was saying he's in his element now, because he's all about personnel and his desire to make sure that there's no fall off. This is probably, if we've been honest and we think this through, these last 2 years going into year 3 with DeMeco, this is probably the most stable the franchise has been in terms of personnel, because the mix of youth and veterans on this squad, if you look at the defense, you see it all the way through. And now you see how young the offense was last season, and now look how they revamped that whole offensive line with veterans in terms of Cam and Lakin, and then you got Trent and all these. Now you're not talking about Laramie Tunsil and then Titus Howard, Juice Scruggs, Blake Fisher, and Patterson or whatever. Now you're talking about dudes that had some experience in the league, so that now the rest of the league has to take a look at the Texans and go, we ain't pushing rookies around no more. We pushing dudes around that we're gonna try to push dudes around that don't want to get pushed. Tay is 6'6", Trent Brown 6'8", Cam Robinson 6'7". You see what I'm saying? So now the roster building.
Titus, I was 6'5".
See, that's Titus. So now they're playing chess, because now we got interchangeable parts. We got elite players at the positions, because if you put it up, Nico gonna catch it. Joe and Chubb,
Nick Chubb,
they all about punishing you physically. And so it has changed the complete dynamic of this franchise from just a passive and just take what they give us offense and a team to now we gonna lean on y'all, and then y'all gonna take what we giving you, because we know what the defense is giving everybody. And so that's the transformation that I've seen happen with Nick Caserio and DeMeco being in charge of this thing, because when you're talking about just football, if you are not physical on both sides of the ball, you just spinning your wheels, man. And the Texans have been like that. That's why you remember AD, Cal, Kim Folk, we used to sit back and go, damn, man, every time the offense get right, the defense wasn't ready. Then we would say when the defense is ready, the offense wasn't ready. Now you're starting to see everybody trying to get ready.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to be the party pooper, but I will. I don't have this optimism you all have in this reconstruction of the old.
I'm gonna have to come to your house in a minute, man. Something going on that me and you got to discuss face to face.
Hey, we gonna do that. The offensive line
Man,
on
you
paper.
and Archie Mike got a battle going on.
This offensive line on paper is not better than last year. This
So,
offensive line is a work in progress. I believe that overall they should be better. We have to see if they're going to be better.
Well, that's a part of the process.
Sure.
Right. And I'm going to say this because I know a lot of people have a lot of skepticism about the offensive line. It's the hottest topic in Texans. I feel like this offseason it's been overwhelming when it comes to talking about offensive linemen.
Well, I just want to caution people. It's not like we added Trent Williams to the offensive line. We added a solid tackle in Robinson, and Tomlinson is a vet just like Shaq Mason was. So,
but how many teams are giving up Trent Williams out there, man? How many Trent Williams are out there? It ain't that many of them out there.
But I can tell you we ain't got one.
Let me say this. Like everybody, when it comes, and that's the problem I have with the whole synergy or the whole topic about the offensive line is because, like you saying, Larry, everybody's looking at it on paper.
Yeah.
And my thing is, I challenge a lot of people to go around the league. And you can name maybe one player or two players on each offensive line. You can't. It's a whole bunch of who.
Exactly.
Who that number? What? It's a whole bunch of that around the league. You don't, and that's the problem that we fell into and how we got in the situation that we got in the first place. We went big name hunting. We went big money hunting. We went big draft hunting, and we did all of this. We spent all of this money.
Exactly.
Draft picks to get the names, the pelts on the wall guys, the this and that. Titus Howard, first round pick. Larry Tunsil, we spent 2 first round picks on him to get him here. Then you go Kenyon Green, first round pick.
Juice
Scruggs, second round pick. Shaq Mason, freaking Super Bowl champion, All Pro, Pro Bowl. You had all the pelts on the wall that you could ever ask for in an offensive lineman. Shaq Mason had it. Let's bring all this collective talent together, and this is what you get.
But then you had a left tackle that was wearing skinny jeans, but now, like you said, AD, and I didn't mean to cut you off. You can't name me besides Ragnow and what's big boy up in Detroit, the big guard.
Panay.
Yeah, exactly. Panay. But you can't name me the other
three.
Who the other three? Exactly. Or the boy in New England, the left guard in New England, big boy. Come on, Mike. The left
Cole
guard
Strange?
for
Woznu.
No, for the Colts. For the Colts.
You said New England. That's what you
I meant
Nelson.
Oh, exactly. So who the other 4 in Indy? So what?
Nobody.
Well, you made your point. Let me make my point.
Okay.
This offensive line is a group of guys that have been in the league. You got a proven guy in Robinson. Titus Howard is now your best offensive lineman. You just bring in a guy from New England off the street who is your starting center now. And you all mentioned Juice Scruggs, who was a top draft pick for us that's running on the 3rd string now. So I'm just trying to point out that the offensive line is not situated. It is a fluid process, and we have to just calm down a little bit about what the expectations are there. We're not going to just be moving people out of the way because these guys measure as large human beings. They got to be able to play football.
So
I ain't calming down. I ain't finna calm down. I'm gonna believe that Cole Popovich is a better offensive line coach than that piece of dude we had last year. And I'm gonna believe that he can put 5 of those 13 offensive linemen out on the field to make sure my quarterback don't get hit 68 times again.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this because me and Cal have been talking about this for a while with the offensive line, and Forever Raw put it right here. The mentality is different because you had the talent last year. You had the talent. You didn't have the mentality.
Yeah.
No,
And why
as
did
much-
we have a mentality?
we did not have the mentality because the ringleader didn't have that mentality. The ringleader, like Larry said, wanted to wear skinny jeans and get his Jordan signs by Beyonce and post them on goddamn Instagram.
But he doing his job. The coaches weren't doing their job, and this is on D'Amico for allowing that.
It's on everybody. It's on everybody. But at the end of the day, a player has to be responsible for himself.
Agreed. And if you can't make it, you're gonna be out of here. So they decided to move on from those players. Right. I'm just saying the replacements are not good in my estimation.
So let me
go ahead, because you about to say what I'm about to say.
No, let me say this. From the secondary to the linebackers to the wide receivers, running back, I'm gonna say the tight ends, cornerback, like you name every position group on that team. They pretty much feel that they have what it takes because they're not reading the press clippings. They're looking at the talent that's around them. That whole defense is like, we done won. Like Gardner Johnson say, I'm here to win about 3 Super Bowls. You can't convince CJ that he's not the man. We see Mixon. We know Chubb. No, well, but okay, that's fine. But we have. Well, hold on. They simply see everybody. I'm the first one.
Ain't the man.
Well, he's talking about CJ Stroud.
I said CJ Stroud.
Oh, you thought you said CJ.
No, I said CJ.
You're talking defense.
No, I said the defense. Yeah, and I said CJ GJ said he's here to win at least 2 to 3 Super Bowls. I said the defense is solidified. Then I said CJ knows he the man. Okay. I'm the first one in this.
CJ Stroud is the man. The other,
I'm the first. I'm the first.
I was on my way to your house for real, Ken Folk. Hey, man.
But check this out. I'm gonna say this, and I say it until he's not here anymore. I'm the first one in the city that said Nico was the man. My point is this: when they sign every offensive lineman off the street, the offensive line knows that the Super Bowl ring relies on them. Coach Popovich knows I was given a chance to run this room. It relies on me. So when you look at the name on the back of the jersey and say they're not that good, well, I played on a line where everybody wasn't that good, but collectively, you can make some things happen. So it's about continuity, chemistry, just getting the reps together. Changing the mindset goes a long ways. Because when you get everybody to buy in, you don't have to worry about the guy that got his 30 million that never have to practice. Now you got we hearing stories about Trent out there coaching. Like you have a different mentality of player out there. So when you bring that into the locker room, everybody gets excited. See, when you're a free agent, you have to choose to want to come here. That you have other options, but you have to choose to be a Texan. And every lineman said, man, if they just would have had a line last year, they would have won a Super Bowl, I think. So I have a chance to come here, get better, put my name and solidify something special, and then I can get paid. So that's when I say I have confidence in the line. We have nobody seen anything, but I just know when you get chemistry together with an offensive line and they start to get that confidence, hey, boy, when I start knocking you off your block, it ain't a damn thing you can do about it. You get pumped up. I'm sorry, I'm getting pumped up. I'm gonna go put on my shoulder pad.
Look, let me say this. I'm gonna say this. When I talk about mentality as well, and I've said it multiple times, I'm gonna say it again because Texans Tangent put it in the comments. Last year you had 5 individuals on the offensive line.
I agree.
And the best thing about offensive line play is when you play as a unit, there's no you have no choice but to be successful because everybody's moving in unison and playing as one. And when it's like what they call it, the water dancing people. What they
Synchronized swimming. I've been saying that for
swimming.
months.
And
Yes.
and the thing about it is that that's what and again, I'm not looking, and I think that's the expectation, the false expectation that are put on people that say this offense, we believe that this offensive line is going to be better, is that when people say that, you have the opposition or people opposing that view make it out to be like, oh, you're saying this offensive line going to be all pros, or this and that. If we had mediocre line play last year, we in the AFC Championship game.
Exactly.
If we had good, decent offensive line play, we're in the Super Bowl last year. So that is the whole point of, like, if this line can just be a cohesive unit and be a playable unit, it takes this offense to a whole nother level, because you have a Nico Collins, because you have a Joe Mixon, and now you have a Nick Chubb. And
Yes,
because you
sir.
just drafted a Jaden Higgins and a Jalen Noel, and you got a Christian Kirk on the outside.
Let me try to make my point.
And let me say, hold on, last point. And because you have a CJ Stroud under center, that right there will propel you over anything. And that's the thing. You have the weapons and you have the skilled players, and all you need is decent, okay line play.
Now you are talking, AD. Decent line play.
Yeah.
Decent line play. That's not what I'm hearing. Maybe my ears are working differently, and when I hear Texan fandom talk about this newly developing, in progress offensive line, yes, decent line play with healthy offensive weapons, we cooking. But I believe that our downfall was in the playoffs. We did not have healthy wide receivers to go along with Nico Collins. So even as poor as they played in the playoffs, they did enough to where we could have won if we had healthy options for CJ.
No.
So,
honestly, no. As quickly as CJ got the ball out against the Chiefs, and he got it out really quick. Like, Shaq Mason gave up what, 8 sacks? Or no, I'm sorry. He got 8 sacks. He gave up like 3 of them.
And Schultz gave up 3.
Yeah.
Which has nothing to do with the O-line.
It had nothing to do with it. Had nothing to do with it. Had all the thing to do with Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if we got Diggs or Tank out there instead of Mechie, Hutchinson, and Jared Wayne, that gives us a better opportunity to win. That's all I'm saying. And the offensive line.
Can I? Uh-oh.
Go, I hear you. We hear you. We holding on for you.
Defense got tired.
The defense did get tired. They had a lot. They were on the field a lot.
Yeah,
the offense couldn't stay on the field.
3 and out.
So I will say this, because we getting down in that dangerous rabbit hole of the offensive line, and I hate it.
Agreed. My apologies to the audience,
because
I have admitted that Caserio had a great 30 months here, and I expect him to continue. I will stay critically watching his moves, but I expect him to continue on this path.
Well, I'm not.
Go ahead, Larry. He got pissed off through the headphone. Go ahead.
Hey, man. I'm not letting the offensive line go yet. I'm gonna just say it like this: if you remove your pinky off your hand ain't gonna work the same. So, as a unit, it all works hand in hand. And these guys, like you've already said, has to have a mentality, and they also have to have that an ability to get into training camp and work together as a unit, and take what Popovich is trying to teach them, and understand that their number one job is to protect their quarterback. Because if they protect our quarterback, he can lead us to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's not rocket science. They should know that automatically.
So going forward, because we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up and talk about the future. And I think next week we're really gonna touch on, the players and roster and how this roster itself, how Nick, we talking about Nick Caserio and how he constructed the roster. But next week we're gonna talk about how this roster as built is set up to dominate, position by position, player by player, and how the impact players on his team are ready to dominate and take over the league. And that'll be our end of the series and state of the franchise, because we're here and we're here to stay. And Nick
Already.
is in a position now to continue to make moves. Next year we got 9 more draft picks next year. With 2 second rounds, 2 third rounds. Like, we got multiple high draft picks next year to continue to build this roster and reset this roster and address needs on this roster without having to do the most and reach for players in free agency and overpay players and do things that we don't need to do that we used to do. And so now that you position yourself as is, you're in a better situation moving forward in the future to continue to reroute the roster. Hold on. Juice says teach it like a bad carburetor. But you're able to reset the roster.
Oh, that's Chris, the mathematician.
Yeah, it is, man. He's the one that taught us. I ain't gonna say that joke on here. But definitely, Nick Caserio has positioned his team by his strategic moves to get us to where we are, and I'm excited to see the future and what it entails for our Houston Texans. I'm just ready. I'm ready. I don't know about y'all, but I'm excited. We got a few weeks. We got about a month before training camp. I'm ready to get out there in that heat. I'm gonna have a towel around my neck, Cal. We got to get you out there, brother. We got to get you out there. I already know, Larry gonna make an appearance. Larry and Stafford gonna be up in the high dollar section with the fan and the water blowing on you and all that in the cover section. And hell, we may even get a surprise Mike G appearance down there. You never know.
I don't know. Last time Mike was in Texas, man, he was on his way back to Seguin and got in one of them little things that happened on I-10, man. But
I blame the big booties.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to say it, man, but I figured it, you knew exactly what we was talking about.
But since we're talking about Mike, go ahead and hit your thing, brother.
Yeah, you already know. You gotta like, share, and subscribe. Help us out over at the H-Town Rundown and the YouTube algorithm. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And some hellified guest appearances from Larry and Stafford, Larry Payton, and of course, Killer Cow.
But what you got, Cal?
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, we'll come down there, man. Me and my boys will roll up, old Nitty and Patty, man. So
Look, I need Nitty to wear that damn soldier suit he had on yesterday.
Street military. That's my boy, man. Love me some Nitty, man. Hey, let me say this, man. When I seen old girl with the headpiece and the play sheet in her hand, from the owner from Indiana, from the Colts.
Yeah,
that let me know that Shane Steichen probably won't last the rest of the year, and the Texans is going to be in great hands for the next 10 years. I mean, you got Amy Adams doing crazy stuff over there. Shad Khan can't get it together, man. We finna run this thing for as long as we want to.
Absolutely.
So that makes me excited, man. So hey, thanks for being here, man. I like sharing the stage with you guys, man. Larry always make me laugh.
Shout out, Killer Cal, Texas on 3, Nitty and Patton. Shout out that boy from Stafford. As always, y'all hear him every day on the radio on 610, 790, 97.5, wherever. He gonna be on there. He gonna be on one of them.
I'm gonna let you know.
Yep, as well. And we got Doc Payton. Our
Man, I
contrarian.
had a short wave radio in my garage, and I swear I heard Larry saying something like one of them army radios. I was like, this boy's everywhere, man.
Hey, and shout out Doc Payton, our resident contrarian, who always gonna find the other side of the argument. But definitely appreciate him for joining us tonight. And shout out Jules, who had to go to bed. He said he had to go to class. Jules had to go to bed. Y'all already know Jules be going to sleep early, like he, 5 years old. So he gotta that alarm start going off. So if you get in the bed, snuggle up. And shout out Mike G as well. Appreciate y'all all for joining us, man. It's been another great episode. And join us next week when we round off. We go even more in depth and talk about how important Nick Chubb is going to be to this team.
Yes, sir.
And we may talk about Jair Alexander.
Uh-oh.
You never know. He may be on this team. You never know. He may be on a Nick Caserio special.
Nah, I'm on board with that.
So you never know. Even though Jules is against it. But again, we appreciate y'all all. Shout out Nitty, shout out Chris Austin, shout out Texans Tangent, Forever Royal in the building. Shout out, I'm trying to go through the comments real quick. Shout out Patrick Storm, Patton from Texas on 3, Neptune, EMAC, Houston Sports Fan, Brandon, the Moderate Texan, Jay, Al Dickey, Highway Rider, my boy Alfredo, as well, DQ, Lackville, Rodney Bryce, Preston, T Real, as well, and then Steele as well. Shout out everybody, chill out as well, man. Shout out everybody in the chat for coming through. We appreciate y'all all for supporting the H-Town Rundown. Again, we've been rolling Nick Caserio. You see, Nick Caserio will make you go 2 hours. Will make you go 2 hours. But definitely appreciate everybody for tuning in. It's been another great episode, and we'll see y'all next week, man. Peace.
I'll holler.